It's good to sing, right? That's good. We're speaking a lot about Shovim. We're speaking a lot about the eyes. And specifically we're speaking about Lo yisasuru acharei levavchem v'yacharei einechem asher atem zoynim achareim. Don't follow after your heart and your eyes because they stray. Zoynim achareim is more severe than just straying. It means looking at not good things and not according to a person's honor. Has to be taken note that everything we're talking about making this bris, making this covenant with God, is about loyalty. Just like in a marriage. A whole marriage is about a bris. It's about loyalty. That's really what it is. And there's certain things in a bris, in a marriage, that are just, you just can never do that. It's just so off, it's so beyond, it's so out of that bris. There's no such thing that a person says, okay, we have a marriage, so I'm only going to do a little bit of adultery. Just a little bit. Just, okay, I promise, it'll just be a little bit. So, that's not a bris, there's no, the whole thing is off. And you have to always be aware that this loyalty is at the very core of everything that we're all about. It's about really being loyal to God, giving ourselves totally over, and saying, I'm so into you, Hashem. That's an interesting thing. Rashi points out, this week is the Makas B'chayris. This week is the plague of the killing of the firstborn of the Egyptians. It's very severe, the last and the 10th plague. And it's really everything that we're talking about. And the pasuk says, "Ki ein bais asher ein sham meis." There was no home that did not have somebody who had passed away from that plague of the killing of the firstborn. So the simple question is, there was every single home had firstborns. There was a bechor, a firstborn. So if there was a firstborn, Rashi says meis. So what does it mean? What does it really mean? Why were there so many that were passing away in the homes? So Rashi says something interesting. He's bringing from Chazal. He says mitzriyos mezanois tachas ba'aleim. That what happened? The Egyptian ladies were unfaithful to their husbands, and they would go without their husbands knowing, and they would have all sorts of relationships with other single men, not telling. And all of a sudden, that immorality, that a person thinks that they can hide that immorality when no one's looking, even though, like it says, "Kechashecha ke'oira," to Hashem, what the person says, I can do things in the dark, no one's going to see. Kechashecha ke'oira, darkness is light to God. There's no such thing as God not seeing. It's all totally in the open. So the Mitzriyas, the lady said, I'm going to go do things, no one's going to know. So what happened? All of a sudden, the plague of the firstborn, many people were dying in the house. And the husband said, this is the plague of the firstborn. And that's the first, he's my firstborn. What are all these other guys doing? Passing away. So Hashem said, they're all firstborns. Not from you. But for this one's from that guy. That's the firstborn from another person. That's the firstborn from another person. And there could be 5 firstborns in the house because the wife had gone to who knows where and had a lot of firstborns from different fathers. So the killing of the firstborn, all of a sudden, Mitzrayim is revealed for what it was. And all of the trickery and all of the deception, and all of it just in 1 second comes to light. So it's so important during these days of Shovim that whatever is ra, whatever is away from the bris, it's never worth it. Eventually it's all going to come to light, it's all going to fall apart. So look at Perek Gimel. Okay, practically, we want to have that bris, want to be so connected to Hashem. How do we do it? And how do we say no to drugs? Say no to the things that they're offering. So now we have to answer the big question that we're really working up to. How do we have the merit to live with the reality that God's oneness is totally clear to us? And that all that we want is to be close to God. How do we live with that? Really? And how do we feel that's the greatest pleasure that could be offered in the whole world? Not that we've intellectually been told this, but how do we actually feel this? That if a person says, so, you want to come out to the nightclub? Or go to Ma'ariv, that you say, I want to go daven, Ma'ariv. That the nightclub has nothing. Not even like I want, but I can't. I wanted to, but God said no. How do I get to that place that it's more exhilarating to daven Ma'ariv? How do we get there? It's very, very important. Because this is what we're seeking after. And if a person doesn't feel that, so he says, well, the nightclub is offering me more, so I'll go to the nightclub. Why not? How do we get to that place? Amen. This is so good. That shuvi. I didn't mean the coffee. The coffee is also good. Kavel Hashem. Kaf is kaveh, right? Kaveh means to hope, to yearn for. Kavel Hashem, to have you take a sip of coffee, you're kaveh, you feel a shtickle.
We say in Shabbat, kaveh.
Kavel Hashem. Chazak ve'ametz libecha. V'kavel Hashem. That's the second cup. Kavel Hashem. Kavel Hashem. Shebe'emes ha'nefesh einet tzricha she'yalamdu, I say. You know what the secret is? You don't actually have to teach your soul anything. You don't have to inject your soul with anything like, oh, feel this thing. Oh, feel God, soul. Soul, you start feeling. It's nothing that needs to come in as a foreign influence. How do I have pleasure in God? Ki zehu tiva. It's the most three important words. If you understand those three words, that's all of Torah's Chassidus. Torah's Baal Shem is these words. All of Kabbalah is these three words. The nature of your soul is that it already loves God. The nature of your soul, it is already enjoys going to Ma'ariv more than it enjoys going to any disco. The nature of your soul is that it's madly in love and madly on fire for God, for mitzvahs. It's already in that deep, deep experience of unity with God. This is the famous analogy, and Mesilas Yesharim brings it, of the princess. The princess who is being offered a hand in marriage by a common guy from the streets. And the guy from the streets says, but I'll give you this and I'll give you that. And she's like, what can you offer me? I live in the kingdom of the palace of the king. I have everything. I don't speak but I'll get you a new Rolex watch for women, and I'll take you on this adventure and this vacation. Whatever you could offer me, I have it all already. The soul desires something so much more. The soul is not from this world. The soul is the soul is from another universe. The soul is, that's the nature. The soul naturally is running towards God. So you might say, so why don't I feel that? If that's the nature of my soul, that my soul is naturally running to you, Hashem. So then why do I want to go to the disco? I don't know if that's like an out-of-term expression, disco. Whatever. The rave. Burning Man. Why do I want to go? Does that still exist? Oh, yeah? Gehenna. Burning Man. Let's just burn a man. That sounds like Gehenna, actually. Now that you mention it. It's like that. Kishmai Kain Hu. Just burn a man. That's horrible.
Feels like it,
There was one installation at one of these events. I'm not sure if it was at Burning Man, but there's some artwork that sometimes like creeps through, and it was something that I sent around to a lot of Talmidim, and it's very potent. It was like this big thing in the middle of the desert of these two, like they were like made out of wire, humans, and they were sitting like back to back like this, like huge, like very, very big. And they were sitting back to back like she's going this way and he's going this way, and they don't want anything to do with each other. And then on the inside, it's very beautiful actually. On the inside there was like these two children facing that way, and the children were like touching like that. It's a very deep image. It's a very beautiful image, actually. Maybe we'll have one of the Chevra will send it. It was very beautiful. It's very moving. It's very moving. So you see, even in the depths of not good places, sometimes there's sparks. So my neshama wants Hashem by its nature. V'kol Yehudi nafsho yechoyle v'roitze l's'aneg al kirvus Hashem yisborach ve'al avodas Hashem yisborach. Every one of us can and wants to just take pleasure in being close to God. That's all we want. Aval, so you might say, so why not? Kedei she'hanefesh tatzliach lahargish es Hashem yisborach. In order for my neshama to be successful in feeling God, we need to remember a couple things. Aleph, number one, livroich miklippers. We have to run away from the klippers. Remember, the soul wants God naturally. I don't need to make a foreign reprogramming of my soul. My soul is good. Neshama shenosata bi tahirihi. That's the world of Atzilas. Ata berasa. That's the world of Bria. Ta yitzarta. That's the world of Yitzira. Ta nefachta bi. That's the world of Asi. You put into me. Ta neshamra bikirbi. And you're guiding it and guarding it inside of me. And then it's going to be taken away. It's only because it came down through all the worlds that I don't feel as sensitive to it. But it is tahira. It's just been covered over through Abiyah, through 4 worlds. But it is good. It is pure. So what do I need to be careful of? Anything that's going to cover over it. Anything that's going to schmutz on the top of it. Like putting a diamond into mud. It's still a diamond. A diamond that got dirty is still a diamond. It's just got a bit of mud on it. You have to wash it off, but it's still a diamond. You need the eyes to look past the mud. Shechayra ani v'nave. Like it says in Shir Hashem, I'm black, but I'm beautiful. I'm black, I've been burned, I've been scarred on the outside, blackened with all sorts of, spiritually speaking, blackened with sin. But I'm so beautiful on the inside. Shechayra ani v'nave. I'm beautiful. Rashis, if my soul gets covered up by klippos, by coverings, person just goes after taivas gashmias. And certainly if there's averas, but even taivas gashmias means just getting lost in the sauce of this world, just losing oneself. As I lafi goydel klippos, According to how big the klippos are, kach hanefesh eini yechila hargish inyanim ruchanim. So a person won't, God forbid, be able to feel Hashem in his life. That's what happens. He says, Shabbos, I'm not feeling it. Yeah, let me see your screen time. Come on. Hand it over. Hand it over. I want to do it. I caught an audit. Let me take a look over there. What the? Screen audit. Is that the weekly total? 18. It's like, no, that's the daily average. 18 hours. And then you get to see the detail. There's no wonder you're not feeling Shabbos Kodesh. You're living in some Netflix, metaverse. Pull yourself out, soldier. Once it becomes totally covered over, so then spiritual sensitivity is numbed, becomes dulled and numbed. It's a simple equation. It's really actually a direct correlation, usually between screen time and how much a person feels. Not always, but I've seen a high correlation rate. I'm getting a lot of nodding heads here. A high correlation rate. And it's like, good week. You look at it again, hour and a half, utilitarian purposes, using it for the right things, etc. And it's like, oh my goodness, that was actually a good week, man. I'll tell you what. This is dvarim pshutim, we just. Ki az hi kamei chayle. Oh. A person who gets lost in this world becomes sick. What's a chayle? Shemargish es amosa ki'ilu mar. Someone who is sick, when you give him sweet foods, he's like, oh, this doesn't taste right. Doesn't taste right. Loses his sense of taste. Something which has been going on in the world. He can't taste, he can't smell. Something's off. Which Hashem is telling us we have to learn how to taste and smell. Tamu uru ki toiv Hashem. V'hi ein matzliach lahargish u'lis'aneg. Ki ha-klippos ha-mechusa is-oisa. The klippos that are covering him, his soul. Mo'inas mimenu lahargish es taneg or Hashem yisborach rachmana litzlan. Ki ha-ruchonius ve'agashmius ha-chitzonius hem shnei hafachim. Spiritual pursuit and just that on one side, and then just total physical pursuit on the other is two opposites. You can engage in the physical world as long as it's an extension of spirituality. That's why in a Torah lifestyle, we don't run away from the physicality. We just infuse it with spirituality. But physicality that's not imbued with any spirituality is the opposite of everything good in the world. He just loses himself. Reb Noach used to say in a bag of chips. Like the guy that gets a bag of chips and he's eating 1, 2, and then 10 minutes later he's opening up the bag. And then it goes in, licking it, open the whole thing. And it's a little like this. And you're watching. And 10 minutes later, he's yeah, bro, what's up? Where did you go, man? Where are you? It's I don't know. Just lost myself for a little bit. Are you back? I think so. It's all those excitochemicals in the chips. Be careful of those things. I mean it. Crazy stuff in there. Al Koponim. So Reb Noach gave simple example. Nowadays people lose themselves in all sorts of physicality. Where did you go? Stay right here. And kol shkein la'averos. Kol shkein la'averos. As alafi erech hanefil, according to how much he lost himself in that thing, kach mistalik mimenu tam v'noyim elakus. According to how geschmack the averas are, or how much just losing oneself in this world is, accordingly, in direct correlation is how much am I feeling Shabbos, how much am I feeling davening, how much am I enjoying Torah. V'lefi goydel hatam shalokach bera kach me'abed es hatam beruchanias. It's a direct correlation. Ad shemish shaku begashmias, until somebody who's totally involved in just pure gashmias. Mishapchem eitz like kolat tervat fil mariris. The things that are sweet turn bitter. The things that are so sweet, Torah is like, it's not as, it's like a little bitter. You know, Gemar Be'in is the sweetest thing in the world. Netflix, that's sweet. No, bro, that's bitter. It tastes sweet in the beginning, and all of a sudden you wake up after 6 hours. A lot of people learn this Shabbos for 7.5 hours. Because they had a Maspid Shabbos. People sat down for 3-4 hours straight, just learning, losing yourself in the learning. When you get up after 4 or 5 hours of Netflix, and you're like, I don't feel good about myself. It's the reality. And everybody knows it. But after 4 or 5 hours of learning Torah, you get up, it's like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. I never want this to end. So good. Yeah, there's a reason for that. Because one thing is really bitter on the inside, and another thing is very sweet. It's very, very sweet. B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be learning here how to make sure to go into things that are very long-term sweet. Siyat D'Shmai. And the ultimate long-term sweetness is that we're going to overcome the Mitzrayim. Where Mamish going to expose all the Ra for what it is. And Mashiach Tzidkenu is going to march over the Mount of Olives, and be Goyal Yisrael, and build the Binyan Beis HaMikdash b'mihera v'yameinu. Amen. Amen.